3 weeks and as many community noted tweets announcing its success, and Mufasa finally ends up winning a box office showdown with Sonic 3. It just took a couple of shady tactics and some very interesting math in order to get there, some of which I'm not exactly still convinced about, okay? I still think some of the early reporting, I think a little funny accounting's going on right there, but also, you take a look at the numbers in totality, and Mufasa still lagging behind Sonic. Like, I don't know how we do such funny movie math, but Disney always has to appear strong, even if it's at the sacrifice of truth. So, Lion beats Hedgehog as Mufasa, the Lion King, finally bests Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Box office battle between Disney's Mufasa the Lion King and Paramount's Sonic the Hedgehog 3 reached its climax this weekend. Well, not really, I guess, if you're just going to go with the best out of 3 and then Mufasa takes the last one, I guess that's a climax. Because if we take a look at the rest of the month, like, they could really end up running this back for the foreseeable future, because this upcoming weekend, I mean, like, I'm seeing a little bit of promotion for that Den of Thieves 2, but what the hell was Den of Thieves 1 to begin with? And Game Changer, I guess, like, I see a little bit of that, but Better Man, Hard Truths, that does nothing for me. January 10th, not really offering all that much. And then the 17th, I mean, Wolfman, maybe, but the rest of them, it's like, I have no idea. And then the 24th, like, none of that even rings remotely familiar. The 31st, the exact same thing. Dogman, like, we got another Universal animated pick, but realistically, there's no competition until Captain Black America, Brave New World comes out, and Paddington in Peru, which should more than likely end up going 1-2 at the box office. But yeah, we're looking at like a month of wide open highway, and if word of mouth has anything to go on, like, Sonic is gonna be getting those repeat viewings, and I don't really know what we can expect from Mufasa moving forward, because outside of a good old-fashioned, get the kids together and we're going to go down to the theaters because, it's the holiday season. We need to, do some type of, faux familial activity to pretend like we have, a functioning family moving forward. But now that the kids are back to school, and if they had the opportunity over, Christmas break, you had one friend in a group go out and see Sonic 3, and then he tells the rest of his friends, it's like, there's a good possibility, okay? And I could be reaching on this one. I totally understand, but there was a point in time when I was going to school where if I did something fun over Christmas vacation, I didn't have time to talk to my friends at school, I would be telling them about what I did. If it was playing a new video game or if it was seeing a new cool movie, I would be over the moon about it. And everything that I'm hearing, okay, all of the reviews for Sonic 3, I still haven't had a chance to watch it. I don't go to the theaters because the one that I have here is absolute trash, but if and when it does come to streaming, I'm likely to check it out for sure, because I hear great things about this, as opposed to Mufasa, which the Lion King, I'm a child of the 90s, so I grew up during the, Disney Renaissance, so the original holds a very strong and powerful place in my heart. It's just, I've never wanted to know the story of Mufasa. I don't want to see the 2019 Lion King live action remake. And the reviews, like, the only time that I see Mufasa pop up on a review list is top 10 worst films of 2024. So yeah, the word of mouth on that one, I could see cratering any long-term prospects, and because January is just so devoid of competition, it's going to look really bad for Disney heading into a year where they've got very, very rough terrain in the first half. And everything going into the second half, like, okay, if people think that Marvel is going to be turning it around, spoilers, not really, with the Fantastic Four, they've also got to compete with Superman at that same time, so it's going to be tough going for them, because Superman going to have a big weekend, first one out of the box, and if that thing is good, despite all current rumors, it could end up overshadowing the Fantastic Four, but that's another story for another time. We've got to focus on the combat at hand. Mufasa finally edging past Sonic 3 after 2 weekends of trailing the blue blur, which isn't surprising as Sonic is a super-powered hedgehog who can run very fast. Gotta hate Collider. Whereas Mufasa is simply a lion. The Barry Jenkins directed prequel sequel to The Lion King earned an estimated $24 million, narrowly, taking the top spot and pushing its domestic total to nearly $170 million. Keep that in mind. While Mufasa has been slow to recoup the reported $200 million budget, its worldwide gross now stands at over $400 million, in proof that you should never judge a movie released over the holidays in its opening weekend. Yeah, it still needs at least another hundo to break even. And it's possible, but coming off of the $1.7 billion that 2019 did, this has to be seen as a disappointment. Whereas Sonic 3, very easily coming up on a franchise record if given enough leeway, if they don't kneecap it with their release at the end of the month on digital and streaming. Now, meanwhile, Sonic 3 has added an estimated $21 million in its third weekend, bringing its domestic total to nearly $190 million. Wait a minute, 190, 170. Mufasa wins. The film is about $70 million away from overtaking Sonic the Hedgehog 2 to becoming the highest grossing installment in the trilogy, which it should comfortably manage. Yes, the franchise also topped $1 billion mark over the weekend, which is a mark of how popular they are, but also how successful and well-made, well-budgeted series of the films can be. Yeah, exactly. Because the first one was a shade under Sonic 1, we're talking, not the Lion King remakes, live action crap, okay, like those are well north of $200 million, all of them. But the first one was made $80 million, and then 2 and 3 were made for a little bit better, 110. So yeah, they're easily in the black. They're making money. And with Sonic 4 already getting greenlit ahead of the release of 3 back on the 20th of December, they already knew their projections were looking fantastic. Mufasa, on the other hand, well, they were getting their disinformation campaign a revving and rocking. Because yeah, taking a look inside the numbers, it just so happens we're using that website, pun not intended, see what we're dealing with here, and well, if on a level playing field, with Mufasa still in 200 more theaters, Sonic still would have been outpacing them. But you take a look at that domestic box office total, and yeah, $187 million, last time I checked, that's a little bit more than $168 million. But now you got the per theater numbers, and yeah, okay. Mufasa, for the first time in a long time, ends up overtaking your per theater average, but I wonder how many of those views went to families that may have anticipated going to Sonic, but because there weren't as many showings at the theaters that they were going to, ended up being disappointed by Mufasa, as opposed to going and see Sonic 3. I want to look at the overall numbers, because I think that's also very interesting as well. So you've got Mufasa's worldwide box office, $476 million as it sits right now. Very likely to hit $500 million, at least by the weekend. And if not this weekend, by next weekend for sure, because like I said, and like we've seen, very open highway through the end of the month. And the international box office more than kicking in, $300 million overseas. That's very interesting, because they had like a day and date release on North American shores. Mufasa and Sonic both opened up on the 20th, and well, you can see just about every other market around the world had a comparable release schedule, a couple days early in a couple of other places, but yeah, at least the 20th, if not earlier. And as you can see, places like Brazil, Australia, France, Germany, and of course the big one, China, kicking in large lump sums, $13.7 million in fact. That ends up bolstering that $307 million, just about 308. That international number, Disney only gets, depending on where they're at, 30 to 40% of the box office. So the fact that they're losing to Sonic at the domestic box office where they get half of the money, it just shows you that they're really trying to polish this turd, and it really isn't working out. But comparing that with Sonic 3 and its international number, like yeah, it's trailing well behind. But those international box offices, like they were a week late, and in some places like Argentina, Brazil, it didn't open up until the new year. And China, by the way, they don't get it until this weekend. And this is the first time. Okay, this is the first time that Sonic has ever opened up one of their movies. Like the first one and the second one didn't open up over there. Okay, they weren't at the theaters that time around. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening over there when they finally get the opportunity to see this. And other places still aren't reporting their numbers. So I'd imagine we're more than likely to get a big old dump here of numbers that could make Mufasa an even bigger laughingstock, because the way that they want to spin this, Mufasa the Lion King is the #1 movie in America 2 weeks in a row. It's not, and the #1 movie in the world 3 weeks in a row. I mean, you had no international competition, and still it's slow to report. Don't miss the global phenomenon. See it now only in theaters. Yes, the global phenomenon that is going to end up going down as one of your least attended live action remakes that you had to lie about multiple times over. It has terrible word of mouth, and the moment that any a semblance of competition comes along, it's going to get knocked off that perch. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward, because Sonic fans, oh boy, you guys are numerous, you are many, and it's beautiful to see. And I'm more than willing to shill for a movie, because I see the people that are behind this, and it goes all the way back to the original when, Jeff Fowler, sorry, my mistake, took the advice of the audience after the release of the early 2020 trailer of Sonic looking just completely out of sorts, saying, yeah, we're going to go back to the drawing board, and then he ends up with a $1 billion franchise on his hands. I love to see that type fan appreciation, not taking it personally that it looked a little bit sus, not coming back with a retort that says, oh, you don't like it just because it's not what you wanted. No, listening and appreciating the fans that are some of the most passionate in video games, and now are some of the most passionate in movies, because the amount of lying that Walt Disney is doing in order to make their flailing property seem far more popular than it actually is hilarious to see. And they're still hiding replies, letting you know that they're desperate, because Disney knows that they're going to be in for a tough 2025. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.